The battlefield was silent now. The smoke had settled into the cracks of broken walls, and the ground was painted with the marks of fire and blood. Machines lay twisted, sparks bursting from broken wires, and the only sound was the low hum of the alien gun pressed against the side of his head. The human did not move. His boots were still, his breath calm, his eyes fixed on the face of the warrior who stood over him. She was tall, her armor dark silver, her skin faintly glowing under the red sky. Her eyes were sharp and cold, like blades that cut through the silence. She leaned closer, her weapon steady, the barrel only inches from his temple. "Any last words, human?" She taunted, her voice filled with arrogance. Her lips curved into a cruel smile, as if she was already celebrating his end. The man should have been afraid. Anyone else would have begged, screamed, or tried to run. But he didn't. His jaw tightened, and then slowly, his mouth twisted into a smirk. "Yeah," he said calmly. His voice was steady, almost amused. "Your safety's still on." For a second, her face froze. The smile vanished. She looked down at the weapon, instinct taking over, checking with a flick of her eyes. That tiny moment of doubt was all it took to shift the air between them. The power she thought she held was suddenly slipping away, like sand falling from her grip. The human didn't move yet, but his smirk cut deeper than any blade. He had turned her own arrogance into weakness. She growled low, pulling herself back to focus, her finger pressing harder against the trigger. "You lie," she hissed. "You're just trying to distract me. Am I?" His eyes didn't blink. They were steady, calm, but there was something else in them, something she hadn't seen in other humans she'd faced before. There was no fear, no surrender, only quiet defiance. For the first time in a long time, she felt uneasy. The silence stretched longer, the tension growing heavy between them. The red sun dipped lower, shadows dancing across the ruins. Around them, bodies of both human soldiers and alien warriors lay scattered, silent witnesses to the strange battle of wills. Finally, she let out a sharp laugh, though her voice shook slightly. "You think you're clever, but clever words won't save you, you humans, always so arrogant. You bleed like any other creature. You die just the same." He tilted his head, his smirk never fading. "Then why haven't you pulled the trigger yet?" Her jaw tightened. She wanted to kill him, to silence that calm voice, to wipe that smirk off his face. But her hand hesitated. The way he spoke, the way he looked at her, it was like he knew something she didn't. She tried to shake it off, leaning closer until their eyes were only inches apart. "You should be begging me for mercy." "Begging?" His tone carried a sharp edge. "Humans don't beg. Not to you, not to anyone." Her nostrils flared. His words cut deeper than his smirk. She had fought many humans before. She had seen them cry, seen them shiver, seen them collapse under the pressure of death. But this one he stood like stone, mocking her without lifting a hand, and that disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. For a moment, her mind flicked back to her orders. She was told to crush the human resistance, to show no hesitation, to make them fear her name. This man should have been another easy kill, another body on the ground. But the way he stood there, defiant even with death so close, it unsettled her. "Tell me," she said slowly, trying to regain her control. "What makes you so fearless? Do you not care about your life?" He chuckled, low and soft, the sound rolling out in the silence of the broken battlefield. "Fear makes people sloppy, and I don't have the time to be sloppy." Her chest tightened. Something about his voice made her heart race, though she would never admit it. She hated the way her hand wasn't steady anymore, the way her mind kept circling back to his words. The gun stayed pressed against his head. Her finger hovered on the trigger. And yet, deep down, she knew something had already changed. The human took a slow step forward. Not fast, not aggressive, just enough to make her heart skip. He was close now, close enough that she could see the faint scar running across his cheek, close enough that she could feel the heat of his breath when he spoke. "You want me dead?" He whispered. "Then pull the trigger. Or admit you're not as certain as you pretend." Her lips parted, but no words came out. The silence pressed down on her, heavier than before. She had faced armies, destroyed entire squads, but this single human, standing calm in front of her, was harder to fight than any blade or bullet. Her hand trembled. Just a little, and that was when she realized he knew it too. The smirk on his face widened, and she felt a chill run through her veins. The ruins around them seemed to vanish, the dead bodies forgotten, the smoke fading into the background. All that remained was her, him, and the quiet challenge hanging between their breaths. She pressed the gun harder against his head, forcing her voice steady. "Don't test me, human. I could end you right now." But her threat sounded weaker than she wanted, and he knew it. He leaned his head slightly toward the weapon, his eyes locked on hers, and whispered with a calmness that made her heart pound. "Then do it." The last rays of the red sun fell behind the broken towers. Shadows swallowed the battlefield. Her finger pressed against the trigger, yet she still didn't fire. The human smiled wider, knowing he had just won the first battle without even lifting his weapon. Asterisk. The warrior queen's hand still trembled slightly on the gun. She hated it. She was bred to be flawless, unshaken, feared across star systems. And yet here she was staring into the calm eyes of a man who should have been on his knees, begging for his life. The human tilted his head, the smirk never leaving his lips. His calmness was louder than any scream could ever be. "Your eyes are shaking," he said softly, almost like an observation. "Not mine." The words struck harder than a blade. She gritted her teeth, forcing her arm steady, but she knew he had already noticed her slip. And that smile, she hated it, yet she could not look away. "You think because you caught me off guard once," she hissed, "that you've won something?" He shrugged, his expression infuriatingly casual. "I don't think, I know." For a moment, silence stretched between them again. The battlefield's shadows grew longer as the red sky darkened. Smoke curled around their feet, carrying the smell of burning metal. Every sound the crackle of fire. The groan of twisted machines felt muted under the weight of their stare. Her voice was sharp when she spoke again. "Do you want to die with that grin on your face?" He leaned slightly forward, so close that the cold metal of her weapon brushed against his skin. "Depends," he whispered. "Are you planning to actually shoot, or are you enjoying the standoff too much?" Her jaw tightened. She should have ended it right there. But something about the way he said it, confident, certain, as if he was in control, even with a gun against his head, burned through her discipline. This was not weakness, she realized. This was something else, a kind of madness, or maybe a kind of strength her people had underestimated. She took a step back, lowering the weapon just slightly. Her heart pounded as if she had just survived a battle herself. "Strange creature," she muttered. "You act like death is a joke." He raised a brow, smirk still carved on his face. "Death's only a joke if you're the punchline. Me? I don't intend to be." Her lips twitched despite herself. Was that humor? No, humans were dangerous because they mixed defiance with laughter. She had read reports, seen prisoners, heard commanders speak about humanity's stubbornness. But standing here, facing it in raw flesh and blood, it was different. It was unsettling. She needed to regain control. "You're alive only because I allow it," she said firmly, her tone regaining steel. "Don't mistake my patience for weakness. And don't mistake my silence for fear." He shot back instantly. That answer silenced her more effectively than any weapon. She studied him carefully now, her eyes tracing the dirt on his uniform, the small scars on his face, the steady rise and fall of his chest. He had clearly fought long before this moment, Yet his strength didn't come from muscles or armor. It was in his eyes. Eyes that didn't look at her like she was a monster, but like she was just another opponent to outsmart. It made her curious in a way she didn't expect. "You have nothing," she said finally. "No weapon, no army, no backup. What gives you the right to look at me like you've already won?" The smirk widened. "Because you're still talking." Her breath caught in her throat. He was right. She had drawn out the moment, given him time, given herself time. Why? Why was she letting him do this? She could have finished it in seconds. But she hadn't. And now, a part of her didn't want to. She lowered her weapon fully now, though her hand stayed tight on it. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "I don't kill you yet. Perhaps I bring you back alive. My people want to see what makes you human, so." "Impossible." He tilted his head as if amused. "Capture me, kill me, it's the same thing to you, isn't it? You'll never get what you want. And what is it I want, human?" His voice dropped low, almost like a secret. "To understand. US, but you never will." The words echoed in her chest, sharp and heavy. She hated that he might be right. She straightened her shoulders, forcing her mask of arrogance back into place. "Careful, human. You are valuable alive. But you are also very easy to break." He leaned back slightly, his smirk softening but never fading. "You'll find out we don't break as easily as you think." The battlefield around them groaned as distant explosions rumbled. Smoke lifted into the darkening sky, carrying the warning of more battles to come. She knew reinforcements would arrive soon. She knew she couldn't stand here locked in this strange duel of words forever. But as she stared at him one last time, she realized something chilling. Killing him now would not give her victory. It would feel like defeat, and she wasn't ready to lose. The smirk on his face seemed to say he already knew her choice before she did. She turned sharply, gesturing with her weapon for him to move. "You walk, human. You're coming with me." He raised an eyebrow, smirk never fading. "Guess I'm worth more alive after all." "Don't flatter yourself," she snapped, though her voice betrayed the faintest crack. As they walked into the ruins, the red glow fading behind them, one thing became clear. This was no longer just a prisoner and a captor. This was something far more dangerous, something neither of them fully understood yet. But both of them knew the real battle hadn't even begun. Asterisk. The ruins stretched ahead like a graveyard of steel and fire. She marched forward with the human close beside her, her weapon trained on him, though her grip felt weaker than she wanted to admit. He walked calmly, smirk still playing at the edge of his lips, as if chains or guns could never bind him. Every step echoed in her ears. Why did he not resist? Why did he not run? Most prisoners tried something desperate when captured. But this one, he walked as if he was leading her. It angered her. It unsettled her. And deep inside, it made her curious. The silence of their march was broken when a piece of twisted metal collapsed nearby. She turned her head sharply, and in that instant, he moved. The human struck like lightning, fast and precise. His hand shot forward, grabbing the barrel of her weapon and pushing it upward just as it fired. The blast of energy seared the night sky, missing him by inches. Sparks lit the air. She snarled, twisting the weapon back toward him. But he didn't retreat. He stepped closer, too close, his hand locking against hers. The two clashed in a sudden, violent struggle. Her strength was undeniable. She was bred for war, her muscles forged through training and battles across worlds. Yet the human was quick, cunning. He did not fight to overpower her. He fought to unbalance her. Every move was precise, calculated, as if he knew her strikes before she even made them. She slammed her elbow toward his face. He ducked. He drove his shoulder into her chest plate, forcing her back a step. Her boots scraped against the dirt. Fury burning in her veins. "You dare!" She roared, pushing him off with a surge of raw strength. But he didn't fall. He twisted, grabbing her wrist and forcing the weapon sideways. The gun discharged again, the blast tearing through a broken wall instead of his body. The explosion showered them with sparks. For a moment, their faces were only inches apart, breaths heavy, eyes locked in raw defiance. His voice was steady even in the chaos. "Still think I'm begging for mercy?" Her teeth clenched. She hated the way his calmness dug under her skin. With a growl, she swung her arm, breaking free of his grip. Her hand struck his chest, sending him stumbling back, but he recovered too fast. His boot caught on a rock, and instead of falling, he used the momentum to dive forward, knocking into her legs. They both tumbled into the rubble, rolling hard across the ground. The battlefield around them seemed to roar back to life with their struggle. Sparks flew, debris clattered, and the broken earth groaned beneath their weight. She straddled him, pinning him down, her weapon raised high. Her glowing eyes burned with rage. "Stay down, human." She snarled, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. But his hand shot upward, grabbing her wrist before she could bring the weapon down. His grip was iron, his smirk still there, even bruised and bleeding. "You'll have to do better," he whispered. Her heart pounded faster. She should have ended him by now. She had ended hundreds before him. But this man refused to break, refused to fall, refused to even look afraid, and it shook her. With a roar, she pushed harder, her strength pressing against his resistance. The gun trembled inches above his face. Sparks from burning wreckage rained down on them, lighting the scene like fire. For a moment, it seemed neither would yield. Then suddenly, he twisted his hips, flipping her off balance. She hit the ground with a metallic crash, her weapon skidding across the dirt. She rolled quickly, leaping back to her feet, but he was already there, standing between her and the gun. His chest rose with steady breaths, his face bruised, but his eyes locked on hers with unshakable calm. The smirk was still there, her jaw clenched, anger boiling through her veins. "You think this is a game?" "No," he said simply. "But you're starting to realize you can't win it." Her fists tightened. She lunged forward, no weapon now, only raw strength and fury. He moved too, meeting her in the middle. Their clash shook the rubble around them. Fist against arm, elbow against shoulder, strike after strike, fast, brutal, relentless. She was stronger, but he was quicker. She was trained, but he was unpredictable. Every time she thought she had him, he slipped away. Every time she knocked him down, he rose again, eyes never losing that defiant gleam. And then she saw it. His smirk again, that maddening curve of his lips that told her he was never afraid. No matter how close she pressed him to death, her chest heaved, sweat dripping, fury burning. Yet beneath it all, she felt something else creeping into her heart. Something she didn't want to admit. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a test, and he was passing it. The two broke apart for a breathless moment, standing in the middle of the ruined battlefield, sparks and smoke curling around them. Her weapon lay forgotten in the dirt between them. Neither moved, neither blinked. The silence was louder than the fight itself, and in that silence, the human's smirk widened. "You're not the first to try and break me," he said softly. "And you won't be the last to fail." Her chest tightened. She should have felt rage. She should have lunged again. But instead, for the first time, she felt doubt, and doubt was more dangerous than any wound. The battlefield was quiet again. Only the sound of broken metal crackling in the distance filled the air. The human stood tall, chest rising slowly, smirk still curling his lips. The alien warrior queen, her armor dented from the struggle, stood across from him, her weapon lying useless in the dirt between them. She should have picked it up. She should have finished him. But her hands didn't move. For the first time, she was not thinking like a soldier. She was thinking like Something else. You should be dead by now, she said, her voice low, heavy with frustration. And yet you stand. Why? He tilted his head slightly, wiping the blood from his cheek with the back of his hand. Because you don't want me dead. Not really, her jaw clenched. She hated his certainty. She hated the way he spoke as if he knew her better than she knew herself. You think you've won some kind of battle? She snapped. You haven't even begun to understand. Then tell me, he said softly, stepping closer, his eyes locked on hers. What is this really about? It's not just about killing humans, is it? Her chest tightened. For a moment, she said nothing, but his steady gaze pressed against her silence until she finally spoke. My orders. She began, her voice faltering before she steadied it. They were not to kill you. Not at first. His brow lifted, though the smirk never faded. Go on. Her eyes narrowed. She despised the way he pulled the truth out of her, piece by piece. The High Command wanted humans alive. They want to study you, your resilience, your defiance. They don't understand how a species with such fragile bodies can keep surviving against impossible odds. He chuckled lightly, though there was no humor in it. So that's it. Not just a war. An experiment. Her silence was answer enough. The human stepped closer still, so close that she felt the warmth of his presence through her armor. And you? Do you follow orders without question? Or do you want to know the truth too? Her throat tightened. She wanted to snap at him, to strike him, to remind him he was her prisoner. But the words didn't come. Because deep down, she did want to know. She had fought dozens of battles. She had crushed soldiers, burned camps, broken resistance after resistance. But humans never stopped. They never surrendered. They never accepted defeat, even when all hope was gone. And this man standing here, smirking at her even after fighting with nothing but his bare hands, was the proof of it. Tell me, she said finally, her voice quieter now, almost like a confession. What makes you so different? Why do you not fear me? He looked at her for a long moment, the smirk softening into something colder, sharper. Because fear makes people sloppy. And humans can't afford to be sloppy. Not when the galaxy is trying to crush us. His words settled into her chest. Like stones. They weren't arrogant. They weren't desperate. They were simple truth. She stared at him, her glowing eyes flickering. You speak as if your people are unbreakable. They are, he said firmly, and that's what scares you. Her breath caught, but she hid it quickly behind a mask of steel. She wanted to deny it, to laugh at his boldness, but she couldn't. Because he was right. Deep down, the one thing her people feared was not human strength or weapons. It was their spirit. For the first time, she felt the weight of her own orders pressing down on her. Capture him, deliver him alive. Break him. Study him. But looking at him now, she realized something terrifying. He could not be broken, and maybe. She didn't want to be the one to try. The human studied her silence, then leaned closer, his voice a whisper that cut through the night. You've killed countless men like me. So why hesitate now, unless you're not as certain as you pretend? Her hands clenched at her sides. She hated his words, hated the truth they carried. She could have killed him, yes. But a part of her won, she couldn't explain, didn't want to. The red sky above rumbled suddenly as the shadow of a fleet loomed overhead. The low hum of engines grew louder, vibrating the ground beneath them. She looked up sharply. Her reinforcements had arrived. The human followed her gaze, his smirk fading into something colder. Your people. She nodded once, her jaw tight. They'll take you. And if you're as unbreakable as you claim. Her words trailed off, but her eyes betrayed doubt. He tilted his head again, his voice steady, almost mocking. Then they'll fail, just like you. Her breath hitched. She wanted to silence him, to prove him wrong. But the doubt had already sunk too deep. Above them, the alien fleet descended, lights glowing through the smoke. She glanced at him one last time, her heart racing in a way she didn't understand. "Stay alive, human. I want to see how far that smirk of yours can carry you." The engines roared overhead. Shadows swallowed the ruins, and in that moment, neither captor nor captive could deny the truth anymore. Something bigger than orders, bigger than war, had already begun between them. The sky burned with light as the alien fleet descended. Engines thundered like a storm, and shadows of massive warships crawled across the ruins. Dust swirled in violent winds, stinging eyes, choking lungs. The alien warrior queen clenched her jaw. Reinforcements had come faster than she expected. And not hers, no, these were hunters. A rival unit sent to finish what she had failed. The human stood beside her, arms still free, his smirk faint but unbroken. He looked up at the sky, then at her. "I take it they're not here for me alone." Her eyes narrowed. "They'll kill you. And me, if they learn I hesitated." He chuckled, the sound almost drowned by the roar above. "Guess that means we're on the same side now." Her gut twisted. The thought was absurd. She was bred to see humans as prey, not partners. Yet the truth pressed harder than her pride. If she fought alone, she'd fall. If she kept enchained, they'd both die. Her weapon hummed as she picked it up from the rubble. She pointed it toward the approaching shadows, then tossed a small blade at his feet. "Take it," she barked. "But betray me, and I'll gut you myself." He bent slowly, picking up the blade, testing its weight in his hand. Then, to her annoyance, that smirk returned. "Not much of a weapon." "Then prove your kind doesn't need much," she snapped. The air exploded with the first strike. Alien hunters dropped from the sky, armed with glowing spears and rifles. Their helmets gleamed, their eyes cold. They moved in formation, precise and merciless. The queen stepped forward with a roar, firing into the swarm. Energy bolts lit up the ruins. She fought like a storm, each shot burning through armor, each strike breaking bone. Yet even her strength wavered under their numbers. The human moved differently. He was fast, darting between debris, striking quick and vanishing into shadow. With only a blade, he cut throats, stabbed joints, used the wreckage itself as weapon. Where she fought head-on, he fought like a ghost. Together, they clashed not side by side at first, but circling, covering gaps the other left exposed. At one point, a hunter nearly drove a spear through her chest, but the human's blade flashed, cutting deep into the attacker's neck. She spun, shocked, her eyes meeting his across the chaos. He only smirked, wiping the blood on the rubble before moving again. The fight raged on, bodies falling around them. Sparks rained from broken ships, and fire spread through the ruins. She felt her heart pounding, not only from battle, but from the strange rhythm they shared. His movements matched hers, not planned, not spoken, but instinctive. For the first time, she realized, they fought like one. Another wave of hunters dropped. She cursed, her ammo running low. She ducked behind a shattered wall, breathing hard. The human landed beside her, his chest heaving, his blade dripping. "They just keep coming," he muttered. "They won't stop," she admitted. Her voice was heavy, almost bitter. "They don't forgive failure." He glanced at her, eyes sharp even through exhaustion. "Then failure isn't an option for either of us." Her breath caught. The way he said it, steady, fearless, it stirred something inside her chest she had long buried. She pushed up again, firing into the next wave. He followed, darting in close where her shots couldn't reach. At one moment, she stumbled in energy. Blast grazing her shoulder, armor sparking. She hissed in pain, almost falling, but a hand grabbed her, steadying her. His hand. "Don't die yet," he said calmly, pulling her back on her feet. Her eyes burned with rage, not at him, but at herself. Why did his touch steady her more than her own strength? Another explosion shook the ground. The hunters regrouped, forming a circle. The two of them stood back to back now, surrounded. "This is where we fall," she muttered, raising her weapon. Again, he smirked, blade held tight. "No, this is where we show them why humans don't fall easy." The hunters charged. Time seemed to slow. The queen roared, firing in every direction. The humans spun, blade flashing like silver lightning. Back to back, they fought as if they had always fought together. Her power, his cunning, her fire, his silence. Blood stained the ruins. Screams filled the air. One by one, the hunters fell. When the dust finally settled, the ground was littered with broken bodies. Smoke curled from the dead. Silence pressed heavy again. The queen stood tall, armor scorched, chest heaving. The human wiped his blade clean on a fallen hunter's cloak. She looked at him. For the first time, she didn't see prey. She didn't see an experiment. She didn't even see an enemy. She saw an equal. Her lips parted, but no words came. He glanced at her, smirk still faint on his lips. Not bad, for a queen. Her eyes narrowed, though the corner of her mouth betrayed the smallest twitch. "Don't flatter yourself, human. You're alive only because of me." "Funny," he replied, stepping closer, his voice low. "I was about to say the same." The ruins fell silent again. The fleet above withdrew, their hunters defeated. But she knew this was not the end. Her people would not forgive this. Now, though, something unthinkable had happened. An alien queen and a human soldier had fought as one and survived. The battlefield lay silent again, broken only by the crackle of dying flames. The ground was littered with the bodies of the hunters they had slain. Smoke coiled upward like black serpents into the night sky. The human leaned against a cracked pillar, blade still dripping with blood. He was breathing heavy, but his smirk hadn't faded. The queen stood a few feet away, her armor scorched, her shoulder bleeding from the wound she had taken. She said nothing. For the first time in her life, she had fought beside a human. And where she had needed him. Her comms device buzzed against her ear. A cold, metallic voice filled the air. "Unit commander." "Report." Her blood ran cold. "The high command." She glanced at the human, who stood still, watching her, calm eyes piercing her silence. He knew. She could tell by his smirk. He knew what the order would be. "I secured the human," she said finally, her voice sharper than she intended. The reply came without pause. "Alive?" "Yes," she admitted. Another pause. Then the command came, clear and merciless. "Then kill him now. Leave no trace. Failure will not be tolerated." Her heart clenched. She tightened her grip on the weapon. "Kill him. After everything. After fighting together. After bleeding side by side. After seeing him stand when others would have begged." She looked at him. He wasn't begging. He wasn't even afraid. He simply stood, blade still in hand, eyes steady on hers. "Well?" he said quietly. "Going to follow orders?" Her breath caught. How dare he sound so calm when his life dangled by a thread? How dare he smirk at her when she was supposed to hold all the power? She raised her weapon, pointing it at his chest. Her hands trembled. "Any last words, human?" she forced out, trying to sound strong, but her voice cracked. The smirk widened. His voice was steady, low, and maddeningly calm. "Yeah, your safety's still on." Her chest tightened painfully. The line echoed through her mind like a ghost. It wasn't about the weapon anymore. It was about him, always calm, always defiant, always in control, even when he shouldn't be. Her finger hovered over the trigger. She could end him now. She should end him now. But she couldn't. Not because of weakness. Not because of failure. But because she no longer wanted to. "Do it," he said, stepping closer. His voice was steady, almost taunting. "Prove you're just another soldier. Prove you're nothing but their weapon." Her breath grew heavier. She remembered the reports, the training, the orders drilled into her since childhood. Humans were to be broken, studied, destroyed. But staring into his Eyes now, she felt none of that. Instead, she felt fear not of him, but of herself, because if she pulled the trigger, she would lose something she didn't even have a name for yet. The comms crackled again, harsher this time. "Commander, why the delay?" "Execute the order." Immediately, her teeth clenched. She wanted to obey. She wanted to stay loyal. But her heart beat too loudly, drowning out the command. And then, something terrifying happened. She lowered the weapon. The silence that followed was deafening. The human smirk softened, but his eyes stayed locked on hers. He whispered, "So, not a weapon after all." She wanted to snarl, to strike him, to deny the truth he had just spoken into existence. But the words wouldn't come. The comms screeched again. "Commander, answer us. Did you execute the human?" She looked down at the communicator in her hand, her people, her duty, her bloodline. Everything she was built for. Her hand trembled, then in one swift motion, she raised her weapon and fired. Not at him, at the communicator. The device shattered into sparks, silence filling the air once more. She breathed hard, her chest rising and falling as if she had just slain a beast larger than herself. She hadn't killed the human. She had betrayed her own command. The human watched her, silent, the smirk fading into something more serious now. "That was your lifeline," he said quietly. "You just made yourself a traitor." She nodded once, her jaw tight. "I know." Her voice was steel, but her eyes betrayed the storm inside her. "You'll never go back to them now," he continued. "I don't care," she snapped, though her voice wavered. Better a traitor than a puppet. For a moment, they stood in silence, the ruins burning around them. She had chosen him, chosen to defy her people for the first time in her life. But as the cold night wind swept through the broken battlefield, a new fear settled in her heart. This wasn't the end. This was only the beginning. Her people would come for her. For him. For both of them. And she had no idea if their fragile alliance could survive what came next. The human smirk returned, faint but unshaken. "Guess we're in this together. Now." Her chest tightened again, but she didn't deny it. For the first time in her life, the Queen of War felt something far more dangerous than battle. She felt uncertain. The battlefield burned low, like the last breath of a dying beast. Smoke curled into the starless night, and the ground was heavy with silence. The alien queen stood motionless, shards of her shattered communicators scattered at her feet. The human stood opposite her, blade still in hand, though his smirk had softened into something unreadable. For the first time since the fight began, there was no noise between them, no taunt, no sarcasm, no command. Only the quiet weight of a choice neither of them could avoid. She lifted her gaze to the sky. The fleet was gone for now, but she knew they would return. Her people didn't forgive betrayal. When they learned she had disobeyed, when they discovered she had spared a human, they would hunt her. Hunt them. And yet, despite the storm she had invited onto herself, her hands did not regret breaking that communicator. Her eyes slid back to him. "You realize what I've done," she said finally. Her voice was low, heavy. "I can't go back. My people will brand me a traitor." The human smirk curved again, faint but certain. "Then you chose the right side." Her chest tightened. He said it like it was simple. Like centuries of loyalty, blood and war meant nothing compared to a single decision. She hated the way his words made it sound so easy. She hated that a part of her believed him. "You don't understand," she snapped. "They will come for me. They will come for you. No army will stop them." He stepped closer, his blade lowering at his side. His voice was calm, steady, infuriatingly so. "Then we fight them, together." Her lips parted, but no words came. Together. The word echoed in her mind, dangerous and heavy. She had spent her life believing humans were weak, fragile, prey. And now here she was, standing with one who refused to die, who refused to fear, who had forced her to question everything. She shook her head, forcing steel into her voice. "You think this is some alliance? That I'll follow a human?" His smirk widened. "Not follow, stand beside." Her heart raced. Why did his words shake her more than any battle? Before she could answer, a deep rumble spread across the sky. Lights pierced through the smoke. The fleet had returned. More ships, more hunters. This time, there would be no hesitation, no second chances. The Queen gritted her teeth, pulling her weapon up again. "They're here. This time they'll burn the ruins to ash. Even you can't smirk your way through this." He glanced at the fleet, then back at her, his eyes calm and sharp. "Then you'll have to make a choice. Kill me now, give them proof of your loyalty, and they'll take you back. Or," he stepped closer, close enough that their breaths mingled, "stand with me and fight them, and never look back." Her chest heaved. The choice clawed at her insides. Her entire life had been built on loyalty to her people. But her instincts screamed something different, now something terrifying and undeniable. He leaned even closer, his voice dropping into a whisper. "Any last words, Commander?" Her grip on the weapon tightened. For a breath, the barrel aimed at his chest again. Her finger hovered over the trigger, and then she lowered it. The human smirked, knowing before she did what her choice would be. The fleet's engines thundered louder, shaking the ground. Hunters began to drop from the sky, shadows filling the ruins again. She turned, weapon ready, her stance firm. But this time, she wasn't standing alone. The human stepped beside her, blade steady. Eyes locked on the approaching storm. "You'll die for this," she muttered under her breath. He chuckled softly, smirk never fading. "Maybe, but at least I won't die begging." A strange laugh slipped past her lips, short and sharp. It wasn't mockery, it was something else. Something she didn't even recognize in herself. The hunters advanced, their war cries echoing through the ruins. The Queen and the human shared one final glance. In that silent exchange, there was no prisoner, no captor, no enemy. Only two warriors bound by a choice that neither could undo. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded once. "Always." The battlefield roared back to life as they charged side by side. Alien fire and human steel tearing into the night. The war wasn't over. Their survival wasn't certain. But one truth had been sealed in blood and fire. The Queen had chosen the human, and the galaxy would never forgive it.